Hey everyone, so today I am out here with Scott Turner of Northwest's Self-Defense Education, and we just finished taking the terrain-based tactical carbine class. It's a mouthful, but I wasn't really sure what to expect from about a class like this. I've taken carbine training classes, and people might have preconceived notions of what those words mean together. How do you define a class like this? What is a class like this oriented for?
So what we try to do is get out of that flat range mindset, get people in a different environment where they have different angles and different distances, unknown distances, and understanding their trajectory at distances and different angles is our main focus.
Yeah, and I've taken, like I said, I've taken quite a few training classes, and there's a lot of similarities with all of them, and you can probably see behind us the paper targets that we kind of started out on. And we're all used to, everyone's facing more or less the same direction. You have one direction to look for your target. But then after we kind of did our just familiarization, make sure everyone's zeroed, everyone's ready to go, we went on this trail kind of all around this property. And this is a phenomenal property for a class like this. So what kind of targets do you come across when you're going on the trail up here?
So varied distances, but they're all steel targets, and they're different sizes as well. So it makes it for range estimation just a little bit more difficult, but more realistic as well. We're constantly having to change your positioning either laterally or even vertically to be able to find the target. So that's the hardest thing, and not get sucked into one area.
Yeah, which definitely I know I can say for myself happened quite a bit. And one of the cool things about in a specific environment like this one is we can have a pretty wide angle of potential target area and still be totally safe, be engaging targets from, 50 yards I think 50 yards might be too close for what we were doing with the rifle, but all the way out to just past 200 yards, everything in between. And even though sometimes you're engaging the same targets over and over, because you've changed positions so much, it's a totally different target presentation.
Yeah. At every stake, it's like a completely different little.
Yeah. And like we start at ground level, and then we start working our way up this hill behind us, and so now you're having to consider, what that declination of target means for your holdover. All that to say, it was a really awesome course of fire that I've never gotten in a class anywhere else, and it's something I think we're fortunate enough with this property to have access to.
Yeah.
And if someone was interested in taking a class like this, is this the kind of thing where maybe they should have a little bit more of a fundamental rifle class first and then take a class like this?
That's why at the course description we say this is not a beginner's course. So, because if you notice, we didn't teach very much of basic manipulation. It was, strictly an understanding on the mechanical offset, and then we went right out into longer range. So, but definitely take like our basic, defensive carbine or tactical carbine class before you take a terrain-based.
Yeah. Well, and one cool thing too about getting in a more practical environment, at least here in Oregon, versus just doing it on a square range, you can shoot on a flat range out to 300 yards and not really think too much about it if you got a good rifle. But those awesome shooting positions you learn on a flat range don't always translate to an actual scenario. So there were times when I'm shooting at a target probably 150 or so yards away, and where I'd love to get prone and take my time and really, if I was prone, I can't see the target anymore. And even there were times kneeling where I can't see it. So I really just gotta hammer down and hope I'm good at offhand shooting. So it's some of those real world realities that you get in a class like this that just really separate you from the square range that most of us are used to. And again, having targets presenting behind you from where you think the rest of your targets are that you don't get on a square range like this. Now, this is obviously not the only course you teach. So
no.
What kind of, your school as a whole, Northwest Self-Defense Education, what kind of classes do you offer?
Everything, our whole thought pattern is prepared, not scared. So we teach Krav Maga for our hand-to-hand. We teach, basic handgun, basic carbine, all the way up to, the terrain-based, like our tactical courses. We also have a emergency medical, which we call TAC-Med, which was designed by a, paramedic and a former pararescueman. So we try to cover the whole, pretty much everything that we teach. We hope nobody has to use ever, but we want you to be prepared if you ever do come across that.
Yeah, and obviously we're here kind of centralized on the western side of the state now, but you travel all over the place to
All
teach,
over.
right?
In February, I'll be teaching a similar course like this in Texas.
Okay.
So yeah, we're everywhere.
So if someone is interested in either taking one of those more fundamentals classes to build up to something like this, or just find out where you're teaching, where can they go for that kind of information?
Our website, www.nwsde.com, or Facebook is just facebook.com/nwsde. That's where we put our events immediately.
Cool. So yeah, I'll have that website at the bottom of the screen, and I'll have the links below. A lot of people I talk to are always like, oh, I want to go take training. Where should I take training? I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to get better with this. I want to go do that. And then I'll post on my Facebook page like, hey, here's a class that I'm taking. You should come. And then it's like, well, oh, that class is expensive, or oh, that's too many rounds. I can't afford it. Today, I think for the kind of training we got today, it was a very, very reasonable price. I think you should probably charge a little bit more for this, but it's a very reasonable price.
That's what my wife said.
Pretty reasonable round count. This is definitely something, even if you're just taking 1 or 2 classes a year, this is definitely very easily justifiable costs in my mind. I think you're getting more than the monetary investment, and with how much you teach several classes a month usually, not all firearms, but
I'm usually in front of people about 6 days a week.
And you do private lessons too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's really no reason why you can't take training, especially if you're local here. Because I know I've done classes with other places where it's a 2-day class, it's a little bit more expensive, it's a lot more rounds. I can get why that might be harder for people to justify. But a 1-day class, there's really no reason not to. And then I'm telling you, once you start, it's going to be really hard to stop, because you realize how much you don't know. Once you find your failure points, as long as your ego isn't out of control, which we all have our moments, but try to keep it reined in. You're going to realize how much you didn't know you don't know, and then all you're going to want to do is train at that point. So anything else you want to add about your company or about this class or anything?
No,
like
about this guy. He was running a Beretta
ARX 100. Yeah.
And it has like a 10-pound trigger. When I asked to shoot it, and I thought that it was still unsafe. That's how bad the trigger is, but it's actually heavy, I should say. Yeah. It's actually a pretty crisp trigger.
It is.
But he can shoot, so.
Well, and if you can hit 200 plus yard targets with a 10-pound trigger, I don't want to hear jack about how you need a Geisley or a single stage because your mil-spec trigger sucks. No, don't get me wrong, I love Geisley.
Yeah.
But that's not why you suck at shooting. Maybe take a class.
My sights are off.
And the other thing, sorry to keep dragging this out, but I keep hearing people say when I say take training, they're like, oh, well, I go out shoot with my buddies like once a month. There's a big difference between poking holes in paper with your buddies and having someone who is an instructor who knows what to look for and how to correct you and how to troubleshoot what you're doing and how to fix it. There's a big difference there. So going out and shooting with other buddies is not training. It is at best practice, but you have to take training to know what and how to practice. So don't give me any of that nonsense. Take some training. And again, the links will be below. I'm trying to do everything I can for you guys. So please take some training. Scott, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, really awesome class. And check out the other training videos I've done. I'll probably be doing a lot more because I've been crossing paths with this guy a lot. My sister-in-law, which again, I keep finding other things to talk about. My sister-in-law took a women's only class. So you do women's only classes because
we do kids classes. We do
yeah. So no matter, because again, I understand from a woman's point of view, if it's something you're already uncomfortable with, being around a bunch of super bravado guys is not exactly a welcoming environment. But you have women's only classes. So she took the class. She said, hey, this dude's awesome. You need to take a class. And now I'm finally taking a class. And now I want to take more classes. So anyway, again, thank you very much. And as always, I hope you got something out of this video. And I really appreciate you watching.